G'day and welcome to the new series of Snap Happy, the photography show. I'm Jason Edwards.
And I'm Maddie Sloane. Jace, what have you been up to this year?
Well, Mads, lots of travel. I've been exploring some fascinating locations around Australia, but also touring the globe for National Geographic. And I'll show you more of that throughout the series. What about you?
Well, I met some amazing photographers this year, and on the show we'll share their fascinating stories and insights. But this photo right here was taken by Markus Andersen in Sydney's Cabramatta. Now, he's also produced a book on this multicultural city, and later in the show today we're going to discuss his unique brand of street photography. What's next?
Well, I head to Far North Queensland where I'm going to photograph some unique modes of transport.
I'll listen more on Snap Happy, the photography show. Markus Andersen is a Sydney-based documentary photographer. His raw, authentic and distinctive style of street art photography has been displayed in exhibitions all across the world. He's recently published a book which was shot right here in Cabramatta. And so I'm here today to discuss with him what drives his creativity.
For me, it started with, I guess, looking at magazines and cinema and motion picture. And I found I was a very visual person early on. I was either going to be a photographer, a director of photography, or a film director, and it ended up being photography.
So why street photography? Were you drawn to it for a particular reason, or?
Well, I guess it's more, for me, life photography. I generally don't actively go out and shoot street photos, unless it's based on a concept or an idea. It's just coincidence a lot of the time that I got into it just through photographing life.
It tells a story as well.
It does.
Yeah.
I find street photography is far easier if it's got a concept behind it, so that there's an idea, rather than just random shooting.
So the new book shot right here in Cabramatta, tell us about that.
The book really is, I guess, to display Cabramatta's perception is not what it once was.
Yep.
That it's a fantastic beacon of multiculturalism and life and food and light. It's the way the Australian light hammers the ground and skin, but telling a story. As I said, this book, Cabramatta, A Moment in Time, was more about documentary, I find, than street, because it's meant to tell a story of a place, of a time, and of a progression from what something once was to what it is now.
Amazing. Now, obviously you shot this on Fuji, because you are a Fujifilm ambassador.
Yes, I am.
Why did you choose Fuji?
Primarily was the fact that using the Fuji X100s, they're so small and yet incredibly powerful. The size of them, the power of them, the fact that they're incredibly discreet. I could merge in and shoot like a ghost in this project.
Nice.
I like the fact that I can switch all the tech off and almost use it like an old film camera. Just the viewfinder, the aperture, the shutter, and that's it. I also like the fact that I find the files in colour have a kind of filmic quality, and also with the black and whites, when I shoot JPEGs, I can dial it a certain way that I can get really nice high contrast images straight on the camera that I don't have to do much to.
Yeah.
And that's important. I mean, I always shoot RAW, but I always shoot a JPEG as well. But yeah, I just think for the price and for what you can do with them and for the power, especially the new 100F, I mean, that's 24 megapixels. And as an exhibiting artist, or if you're producing books, that's invaluable, because you need that size and the quality it can produce to achieve your goals.
Well, thanks so much, Markus. Stick around, guys, because coming up next, Markus will be giving us some tips on how to improve our street photography.
Okay, so I'm here at the famed Machu Pichuu. Now, I've taken a gamble this afternoon and I've stood on the top of this hill just hoping that I'd get a ray of sun. And I've got to be honest with you, the weather's been pretty grey and flat. I'm just about to leave, like I have to run for a bus to catch a train to go to the next archaeological site. And Pachamama, the god of Mother Earth, threw me a bone and a little ray of sunlight came down and illuminated the ruins. It was spectacular and it only lasted a few minutes, and that's what often happens. A photography note, I used 3 lenses, a 24-70, a 14-24 and a 70-200. And I also underexposed my scenes a little bit to create more contrast with the citadel and the surrounding mountainsides. The shots are really nice, I think. They look great on the back of the camera anyway. But look, if you're ever in these situations, just have a little bit of patience, and decide what you want. You can't do it all. There's just too much to see and do. So pick a few frames and try and do them well. I'll see you at the next site. Over the coming weeks, I'm going to be travelling through Far North Queensland to explore and photograph some of the unique locations up here. I'll be staying at the Mantra Portsea in Port Douglas, which has a beautiful outlook and is the perfect base camp for our adventures. What are some of the highlights of the area?
Anyone visiting Port Douglas has got to check out the Barrier Reef. I mean, that's the biggest attraction for us. Of course, seeing any part of the reef is a great experience. Otherwise, heading up to the rainforest, you've got the Daintree National Park, which is World Heritage listed, an indefinite must-do for anyone visiting Port Douglas.
Well, you've heard the saying, it's all about the journey and not the destination. Well, today we'll experience one of Australia's most unique railway journeys, the Kuranda Scenic Railway. So Tash, what makes this rail journey so unique?
We have a magnificent pioneering history with this train and the railway line itself. It was a great engineering feat to get it up and running. It took 5 years to build. Gold and tin were discovered up here on the tablelands, and that's the main reason why the railway was built.
So what can travellers expect to see on the journey?
We'll be meandering through the World Heritage listed rainforest. You'll have rainforest on one side, gorge on the other, plenty of waterfalls, over 37 bridges, 15 tunnels, coastline. It's magnificent views.
So I'm standing on this wonderful antique balcony between the train carriages. It's a perfect location for shooting the scenery if you don't want to work with inside the carriage. Just keep in mind that the platform actually joining the carriages is always shuffling beneath your feet, so don't stand there. Stand where it's stable. One of the fantastic things about this train journey is there's a running commentary so that you don't miss any of the important scenic sites, like this amazing bend that we're just going around now. It's always handy to have two cameras because then you can have different lenses on each body. This one's a medium range zoom and the other camera I'm using's got a really wide angle lens. Just then, as we drove past the waterfall, I was able to get a wide scene, but then also zoom in and get a couple of close-ups of the curtain of water down the rock face. So when you arrive in Kuranda, don't be too hasty to leave the railway station. There's a lot to photograph here, from the wonderful old locomotive with its indigenous artwork to the heritage building and the surrounding gardens. Lots and lots of images to be captured. Now there's a small insect here on this wonderful flower, and I'm trying to use natural light so that the lighting's more diffuse, but there's a light wind and he's just moving around ever so slightly. Now in most 35mm lenses, the depth of field works 1/3 to the forward, 2/3 backwards from where you focus. Now I'm shooting this row of railway levers that change the points on the tracks. So I'm not going to focus all the way down the back, I'm going to pick a spot about 1/3 from where I am. So Tash, what is there to do in Kuranda?
There is plenty to do in this small village. You could easily spend 3 hours up here. You have the river with a river cruise. You've also got markets up in town, plus your attractions like Bird World, Butterfly Sanctuary and the Venom Zoo.
Whenever we travel, we like to pick up souvenirs from the countries we visit. It reminds us of the fun and adventure that we've had. For me, I actually like photographing those souvenirs sometimes because that can be a really, really interesting frame. And sometimes the nature of the product in itself is fascinating. Here in the Kuranda open air market, there's the usual paraphernalia that you get that foreign tourists would love. But there's also wildlife product here. Whether you agree with it or not is another matter, but some of it has made interesting photographs. The Scenic Railway was a great way to reach Kuranda, but for a completely different perspective, I'm going to board the Skyrail Rainforest Cableway for the journey down. There's no floor! There's several experiences you can have on the Skyrail. The standard gondola, the diamond view, which we've been travelling in, and next we'll be going on the canopy glider, which is very open to the surrounding habitat. You can see around me, we're literally flying above the canopy like a bird. The sun's coming out and we've got lots of drop shadow. You might find that you need to underexpose your shots a little bit because cameras get a little confused sometimes with really dominantly dark objects. But that's okay, just underexpose a little bit. There are two opportunities during the trip down the mountain to get out of the gondolas and explore the rainforest. One of the things that you can see on the Skyrail is this magnificent kauri tree. It's absolutely enormous, estimated about 500 years old. If you ever get the opportunity, it's a short walk, very accessible. Come and have a look and just stand in awe. For our last leg, we are taking the open top canopy glider. Here in the canopy glider, we don't have any concerns about reflections, and we're out in the wind and the weather. What a way to end the day. I mean, look at this view, it's absolutely spectacular. One day is just not enough in Kuranda. There are so many things to do, and as a photographer, the options are limitless. I know I'm going to be back really soon. Happy shooting.
Hi, this is Markus Andersen. I'm a documentary photographer, and this is what is in my kit. The first camera I'm going to pull out is the black X100F camera. That's probably my main shooting camera. This has no adapters on it. It's just the standard lens, which is a 35mm lens. And it comes with the cool little grey hood, which is non-standard, but I think it looks kind of nice, you know, grey and black. It's very light, very compact, very intuitive. That's what I use primarily for my street work. And for documentary work, it's very discreet, and I can hide and shoot like a ghost. So that's the first piece. The other cameras I've got here is another X100F here, and this camera is the silver model, and this has the adapter on it, which is the teleconverter adapter, which turns the lens from a 35mm into a 50mm. So you can shoot a bit tighter. You can move back a bit, and for street photography, for people who don't like getting in close, it allows you to move back a bit and shoot on the street without the fear of getting too close to people and being in their face. And the other piece of equipment I have that attaches to the Fuji X100F is this little thing here, and this is the wide-angle adapter. And this goes onto the lens, and basically you can turn a 35mm standard lens into a 28mm lens. So it's a bit wider, and if you like shooting street or documentary with a 28mm, it works really nicely. So it's very versatile. It's a very versatile system for a fixed lens system. I'm Markus Andersen, and that is what is in my kit.
As a photographer, I love decorating my home with prints. And last season, I was lucky enough that James Treble decorated my living room with some beautiful prints. And you're back, James. How are you?
Well, how are you?
Good, good. What's been happening?
Look, it's been a huge year. I've actually launched an online interior design course, which
Amazing.
is called Interior Design for Profit, so you can go and check it out. It's aimed for people to learn the knowledge of a designer and how to use those elements and principles in their own homes to add value.
Beautiful.
Well, we are here in the beautiful Blue Mountains at this gorgeous cottage behind us.
It is beautiful.
And Josh Bourne lives here, and he is a Snap Happy viewer, a photographer, and a winner of our photo challenge. So
Fantastic.
I'll let you guys get acquainted.
Now, Josh, I know you won one of the Snap Happy challenges. Tell us what made you get into photography in the first place?
I just like being in the outdoors and always took photos on my phone and just wanted to be able to bring something back that was in a bigger scale.
And tell me, do you love colour or black and white? What's your favourite?
I do like black and white, but I really like bringing home the bright colours of a good sunrise or a sunset, or the greens of the rainforest that we live in.
Now, this home's got great bones, it's got a beautiful feel, but there's no colour or personality. I think it's time to get those beautiful works of yours up on the wall.
No worries, let's go for it.
When you're working out where to hang the artwork in the room, think about the room itself. Now, I've got this large wall here above the sofa, which is screaming for an artwork. And directly opposite, I've got the mantelpiece. There you go, it looks pretty impressive. The trick here is that it's all about scale. Because it's such a large artwork, sitting above the sofa, it sort of mirrors the size of the sofa and fills the wall. Now, the great thing about Josh's artwork is that strong, beautiful orange in the sunset. And colours work really well with other colours in the room. So as you can see, the orange here is pulling out the orange and yellows in this knitted throw. Now, displaying your artwork is not all about hanging it on a wall. placing pieces on top of mantelpieces or long sideboards is another great way to show your artwork. In this case, this beautiful waterfall shot is now up on the wall for everybody to see, especially when viewed from the sofa, picking up the beautiful colours of the greenery and bringing the outside inside. I am a huge fan of black and white photography, and I think it works really well here in Josh's family shots, picking the kids up in the great outdoors. Now, what really impresses me as well is that we chose to use premium prints for these, which means that it's complementing the quality of the work. The fabric itself is 100% cotton, and as you can see, it's finished beautifully at the back as well. I've got this beautiful narrow little wall right at the entry, so I'm going to hang two of Josh's artworks one above the other for great impact. To hang them, I'm going to use two of these 3M hooks, which are perfect for the weight. And being a timber home, I've got these beautiful horizontal lines to make sure I stay on the straight and narrow. Josh has some fantastic family shots. I'm going to put them up on the wall as a collage, and for this I chose these beautiful premium photo blocks, which come in a metallic finish, making Josh's pictures look that little bit more crisp and refined. As you can see, the prints look beautiful up on the wall in a random setting, and I chose 5 because odd numbers in design are far better than even. That leaves me with one last print, and I chose that because the great thing about the block premium product is that I can screw in a leg at the back, enabling me to sit this on a surface like a table or a bench as a nice little photo frame. Very modern and very cool. So Josh, your walls now have some colour and personality. What do you think?
I love it, James. Brings so much colour back into the room where it looked very plain before.
Yeah, and do you know what's most important, mate? They're yours. So you should love it because the work is amazing. I think that it's got personality, and I think that it, reflects who you guys are.
All the prints that we've used today have been ordered directly from the Snapfish website. They have a great range of prints and sizes to suit your own space. For extra quality, check out their range of premium products. The premium canvas prints feature 100% cotton canvas and finger jointed frames. And the premium photo blocks come standard with a black frame and stunning metallic finish. What are you waiting for? Decorate your home with your own photos today. So Marcus, here on Snap Happy, we like to ask our guests to give us some tips to help us improve our photography. So it's street photography today, and I've got my X100T. What can you show me?
Okay, let's go and I'll give us some tips.
Great.
All right, well, the first tip I can give you is confidence. Confidence is a very important part of street photography. It scares a lot of people, the fact that you've got to get in close to people on the street. And it's one of those things, I think, the ability to move in close to a subject is very important because it gives a sense of intimacy. Another useful tip in street photography is using pockets of light.
Okay.
So if you look over here, there's a pocket of light striking that lady's hat. So if you move it nice and tight, you can grab an image and everything around it will be in darkness, but just the hat will be lit.
Yep.
So you can go. And the man's face, grab him now. Go in really tight and quick and grab it. He's going to walk back now. Fire. One important element and another tip is the decisive moment. When everything in a frame comes together at one single point, the most heightened point in a frame, and you take the image at that moment. It could be an expression, it could be a multitude of things happening. So here, people are coming along here and stepping out of the darkness into the shadow, and it's looking for that moment when they do something that's interesting and different, and you're looking for that moment, or maybe a bird, like this guy walking into frame now, fire, fire. So what you really want here, to get that decisive moment, you'd want someone stepping out of the shadow here, then someone in the background. It's a multiple of things happening at once. That's the apogee of a scene.
Well, thanks so much for coming on Snap Happy, Marcus. We've loved it, and I've definitely learned a thing or two and a little bit more confident with my street photography.
It's good to hear. Thanks a lot.
Looking forward to seeing the next adventure and maybe the next book.
Absolutely.
Well done, man. You got some great shots there.
Oh, thanks, Jace. Look, I really struggled with a bit of confidence when it comes to street photography, but Marcus gave me a few handy tips and we got there in the end. So what's happening next episode?
Well, I'll be heading to the heart of Australia where I'm photographing one of our country's most recognisable icons. What about you?
Well, I'll be chatting with Griffin Hammond, a New York City-based filmmaker, and we're going to chat all about the gear he uses to create those stunning documentaries.
If you'd like to join the Snap Happy community, head over to snaphappytv.com, where you'll find exclusive content, competitions and special offers from our partners.
We'll see you next time on Snap Happy, the photography show.
But for a completely different perspective, I'm going to board the Cableways Rainforest Scenic thing? Skyrail Rainforest Cableway, okay. What's it called?
Skyrail
Rainforest
Cableway.
Skyrail Rainforest Cableway. I'm going to join the Skyrail Cableway Rainforest.